In January 1948, Jane Bowles arrived in Gibraltar with a friend and crossed over to Tangier by ferry. Paul had moved the year before, thank you. Over the next few months, she and Paul received friends and they took several trips to the Fez and through the desert. On July 18th, Paul was called to New York to work on the play Summer and Smoke. Jane remained alone in Tangier at the Hotel Villa de France. In the morning, she worked on her novel, Out in the World. Much of the rest of the time she spent in pursuit of Sharifa, a young Arab peasant woman who sold grain in the market with her friend Tetum. It was Paul who had introduced Jane to Sharifa shortly after her arrival in Tangier. Dearest Bub, I started a long letter to you the other day telling you all about my terrible afternoon with Tetum, the mountain dyke. We never did go to the mountain. In fact, she never had any intention of going there. We went to a dry triangular square right in Tangier, surrounded by modern villas and near a bus stop. It was too long and sad and funny and involved to write about, so I gave up. All I can say is that I have never been so frustrated by anyone in my life as I am being right now, except by Iris Barry, and that lasted 11 years. So God knows I'll probably stick around here forever. Just an occasional smile from Tetum, a Sharifa. I wrote you how exciting it was for me to feel on the edge of something. Well, it's beginning to make me very nervous. I don't see any way of getting any further into it, since what I want is so particular as usual, and as for forgetting them altogether, it's too late. For me, Africa right now is the grain market and being obsessive. Maybe nothing will change that. I am still learning Arabic and I still love Tangier, but I cannot tell how long it will take me to admit that I am beaten. It's not any personal taste that I'm obliged to fight, but a whole social structure so different from the one you know. For certainly there are two distinct worlds here, the men's world and the women's, as you've often said yourself. As for Sharifa, I'm utterly dependent on Bousif as far as seeing her goes, and he's not around much lately. I have a dim hope that if I learned to speak Arabic, she would be friendly. Maybe I could sit in the hanouts with her when I chose to. She never asks me in unless Bousif is there, and then he does the asking. Either she is ashamed to be seen with me alone, or quite sensibly doesn't see the point because I can't really speak to her. I don't know. I'm merely trying to know her better socially, have given up hope as far as anything else is concerned. I can't bear to be continually hurled out of the Arab world. The rest of Tangier doesn't really interest me enough. Perhaps you've never really been in this inferior position vis-a-vis the Arabs. I can understand how if one could get all one wanted here or were admired, courted, and feted, that one would never leave. Even so, without all that, and you've had it, I've never felt so strongly about a place in my life, and it is just maddening not to be able to get more of it. How I would love to have walked on the mountain with Tetum. I realize it's a ridiculous name. Naturally, she couldn't and never will, and I was a fool to believe her. She's a big liar, and each day she just says the opposite of what she said the day before. Do any of men do that? I mean really the exact opposite? Whenever I suggest anything to her at all, even a glass of tea, she cuts her throat with an imaginary knife and says something about her family. At least she uses the imaginary knife one day and on the next is prepared to do anything, verbally only. I am puzzled, vexed, and fascinated, but deep inside I have an awful feeling I shall never find out any more than I know now. Still, it's only August, we'll see, but I haven't much hope. I wept for 2 hours after my walk with Tetum. So you see, I am very different about these things than you are. I didn't realize how much I had hoped for and how vividly I had pictured the walk on the mountain until I started to cry. After I had cried a while, I began to laugh. And if only you had been here, it wouldn't have mattered, because frustrating as it all was, it was certainly ridiculous, and you would have loved hearing about it. I wish to hell I could have the same sort of adventures in the Fez or that you liked in Tangier. I cannot imagine a better time, really, than being in a place we both liked and each of us being free and having adventures, even if mine were more frustrating. They would be more amusing naturally if you were here. I wonder how I shall ever be able to leave the view of the Casbah. It means so much to me. Finally, I do not have to leave. Yet. Thank you.